All right, guys. Everyone's logged in here. It's a little bit after 6:02. We're going to get this thing started. So today we're going to be talking about prop baits, tactics for post-spawn bass. So let's get into this. All right, guys. My name is Travis Huckaby. I'm one of Navionics' marine specialists. Here's a little bit about myself, kind of credentials in the bass fishing world. 2015 Fished Wild West Pro-Am Series, qualified for the championship. 2016, made the step up, decided to fish the circuit for the Costa FLW Costa Series. Did really well. Went on to qualify for the championship in 16, 17, and 18. And this year, fishing the Wild West teams and Pro-Ams, and a few of the different specialty circuits like the UFC or specialty events like the UFC Frog Challenge, the Yamamoto Big Bass Shootout, all sorts of those fun ones also. So you guys can catch me on the water almost every weekend. I'm always out and about. If you ever have any questions, want to talk fishing, never hesitate to say hello. Any question you got, I can do the best to help you with it, especially based on Navionics or any of the sponsors. Covered by Navionics, Humminbird, Minn Kota, Phoenix Rods, River to Sea USA, Luz, Eco Pro Tungsten, Sims, CNC Marine, if you're one of the local guys. Like I said, I'm an open book, guys. If you ever want to chat, feel free to hit me up. My name is Travis Huckaby. My email is thuckaby@navionics.com. So if you have any questions about tonight's webinar, feel free to shoot me an email, and we can go over whatever questions you got. So, all right, guys, we're gonna move along. I just wanted to introduce myself for the guys that are new. I've seen a lot of people on here that are repeat that comes back and watches my webinars. I greatly appreciate all you guys' support. So here we go. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about a few specific prop baits that are on the market that are proven fish catchers. The setups I throw them on, the retrieves I've used with them, and then the locations on how to pretty much pattern and find where to throw these baits to target these post-spawn bass. The three prop baits I'm going to be going over with, guys, tonight is the Chris Lane series from River to Sea. There's the baits that we'll be going over for. There's three of them. The first one we're going to talk about is Top Notch. Second one is Big Mistake. And number three, last but not least, Lane Changer. And now, guys, you know, the River to Sea baits, they really came out with a home run a couple of years back with the Whopper Plopper. So they pretty much ran with that prop style bait. And once again, these things haven't got much advertisement. They're fairly new. So I would highly recommend grabbing a couple of these things, going out and throwing them on your local waters. They're definitely some fish catching machines. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about the Top Notch some. All right, guys, the Top Notch. This bait is 5 inches long, weighs 3/4 of an ounce, so you can cast this thing a country mile. It has a light rattle inside it. It's not like a knocker. It's more of a rattle, like if you're familiar with the River to Sea Rover, has a rattle to it. They're a smaller BB, not a bigger ball like a knocker in them. So has a little rattle in it. And also, guys, this bait has that cup lip to it. The cup lip is pretty awesome. As you can see in the picture on the left of the screen, that up in the lip, it actually has where the gills are, holes right there. And this bait, you can throw it out there and it's pretty awesome. Like you can either really slow roll it, or you can burn it, or you can throw it with some aggressive rips, and this bait will actually spit forward. And the cool thing about this thing is it leaves a pretty mean bubble trail. So it definitely has a lot of water movement and disturbance. So this bait here is about the size of the River to Sea Rover, or if you're familiar with like the Vixen, or a little bit smaller than the Spook. So this is a pretty good sized bait, guys. This thing right here will definitely catch you some of the bigger fish in the pond. So I've had the opportunity to throw this thing. I've caught many fish over 4 and 5 pounds on it. It's just it's just it's a top-notch bait, to say the least. So having that bigger bait profile, guys, especially guys that like to fish like the California Delta, anywhere where the bigger largemouth live, they'll eat this thing in a hurry. And like I said, there's some different retrieves to it. I myself like a rip. It's kind of like throw it out there and I'll rip, rip, let it pause, rip, let it pause, rip, rip, let it pause. Kind of almost like a rip bait. You know what I mean? How you get in your cadence. And this thing just spits and splashes with that prop and just causes a lot of disturbance. So it's definitely one of those baits that displace a lot of water and get those big basses' attention. We're going to go on to the next bait. Or actually to get a little deeper into this top notch, the setup and the retrieve. I kind of touched bases, got a little bit ahead of myself on the retrieve that I like with this. But with this specific bait, guys, like I said, it's 3/4 of an ounce. So you want a little bit heavier rod. And I use a little bit longer of a rod. It's the Phoenix M1 7/8 heavy. And like I said, 3/4 of an ounce, need a pretty good backbone to it. You want a little bit of a faster action tip. And this M1 series rod does the ticket really well. And like I said, with that 7'8" rod, you can definitely cast this thing a country mile. And I got that rod coupled to the Lose Tournament MB reel. And guys, on this bait, most of my stuff I throw a lot of the faster ratio reels. I throw it on a 7.5 to 1. And it's one of those deals that I always like to keep the line taut, keep the bait out of the line out in front of the bait. So, and always just keep tension on it. It's one of those deals that when you fire that thing out there, a lot of times you throw that thing out, it hits the water, let the ripples dissipate, you reel down, and if you want to real slow reel it, the nice thing about these baits is the prop is made out of plastic on the tail end of it. So it's pretty light and it does not take any pressure to move. You can throw this thing and I mean just the slowest retrieve and the prop still just kicks like a champ. So that's one of the nice things. You can slow roll this bait, or like I said, give it a couple good rips. And I mean, this prop, it'll spit water left and right. Like whenever you give it a pretty aggressive rip, it definitely moves the water. And I mean, it kicks up a rooster tail. So it's one of those deals, guys. I like having that 7.5 to 1 because I'll throw that thing out there, and if I'm ripping it, I just want least of a reel motion. Pick up that slack line, rip it again, rip it again. I just want it to pick up that line quick. And if that fish blows up on it and comes at you, I want to be able to reel down and put the bad news to that fish, you know. And it's one of those deals, guys, with this topwater baits. You don't really have to swing for the fence. Whenever these fish take this bait down, all I do is reel down till the rod loads and just a sweeping hook set. You don't have to hit a home run. You just let the rod do the work, reel down till it loads up, and lay back into them and get them coming to the boat. Also, guys, I like throwing this bait specifically on braid. I throw the Phoenix Hydra. It's the 8-strand braid and 40-pound test on the lakes. And then if I go out to the Delta, guys, I really rarely go under 65 pounds, especially for this bait. It's just one of those things. I like throwing this thing around the weed lines and some of the hyacinth mats and stuff. And you just throw it right there on the very edge of it. And then give it a good rip or two and let it pause and hang on. Sometimes some of those big fish come out from underneath those mats and just destroy that thing. And then the hardest thing is they'll turn and try to bury back under the mat. So whenever they do that, you reel down until you feel the rod load and you lay back on them. And with 65-pound braid, I'm not worried to be able to put the pressure on them and keep them from going back under the mat. I like to pull them, get them coming towards the boat, and get them in the boat. So it gives them less time to bury under the mat and in the grass. But as far as if I'm fishing lakes and open water stuff where I'm not too worried about it, I do throw it on 40 pound. And now with that, guys, a lot of guys will say, well, why would you throw it on braid? Does the clear water bother you? You know, does that affect the bite? Guys, with this bait, it causes so much commotion. I believe it's a reaction bite. These fish aren't going to come up and track it. They're just going to, it's a lot of commotion. They're going to come up and really blow up on this thing. Especially in the history I've had with it, the bites are very aggressive. It's pretty awesome. They don't just slurp this bait down. They come up and they try to kill it. So I really don't feel that the throwing it on mono, or you definitely don't want to throw any of the baits, guys, on fluorocarbon. Always remember fluorocarbon sinks. So with that being said, whenever you throw these baits, this bait specifically, the top notch, it sits with the tail down a little bit at about a 45-degree angle whenever it's dead paused, and then works its way up. Now, if you're throwing a fluoro sinks, it's going to hamper the action of the bait. It'll try to bring the nose down. So with that being said, guys, fluorocarbon, or if you're a huge fan of mono, I would throw this thing on 15-pound big game, or your confidence line, whatever your confidence is, because that's a huge key, is confidence. You know, you never want to hit the water with doubt. You always want to have 110% confidence. So 15-pound mono, like I said, I would throw it on 15-pound big game if I had to, but I'm just one of those that with this specific bait, I don't believe they're looking to be line shy. They're looking to kill this thing. And there's no stretch with braid, so whenever I lay back into them, I don't have to worry about the line stretch and all that. As soon as I lay back, that braid's pulling that bait, those hooks are sinking in their lips, and that fish is coming. So another one I do, guys, is you guys see it on here, you're probably scratching your head saying, super glue. What do you mean by super glue? On this, guys, a key trick to a lot of prop baits is you take super glue and you take your braided line. And the super glue works only with braided line. Put a little super glue on your line. I usually do about 3 to 4 inches from the very knot to about 3 to 4 inches out. And what that does, guys, it stiffens that. It gives it a little extra backbone. So whenever you're throwing that bait out there and giving it a rip, these baits with props, you rip it and it'll still travel forward because the props push the bait a little bit. So what that'll do is it causes a bow in the line in the front, and sometimes the front hook will get it. Or other baits have props on the front, it'll wind it. So, but with this bait, I just want to make sure that my line stays out in front of the bait. I don't want my hook to nick the line. I had an issue with that. So I was throwing some lighter braid, and when I was throwing it, after about 10 casts, it was weird. I had one about 3 pounds blow up and eat it. I reeled down, had pressure, laid back on her a little bit, and it was like someone just cut the line with scissors. I reeled up and the line was frayed. I'm like, that's odd. So I was kind of bummed. You know, the fish jumped 3 or 4 times, spit the bait. Luckily, I got the bait back. That was pretty cool. Got on the trolling motor, went over, picked up my bait, and I seen that my knot was still tied to the bait. And I had about 3/4 of an inch where it was frayed also, where you could see where the line broke. So what I ended up figuring out, guys, is I cut the line, retied it, started throwing it, and about after 5 or 6 casts, I reeled it in, and I was trying to rip it real hard, and I had the line, the hook roll over the line, and I reeled up and grabbed it, and was looking at it, and sure enough, you could actually see where it was actually making the green braid get a little fray and a little white powderness to this one section of it. So I was like, huh. And sure enough, it was about 3/4 of an inch to an inch in front of the bait. So I made a couple more casts, looked at it again, and actually you could see where the hook was starting to like pick at the braid. So it was like picking the strands of the braid loose. So I was like, oh wow, okay. So on that, I started retying, and then from there on, I figured out the glue trick. So if you guys don't got glue and you're tying this bait up and you're making your cast, fishing this thing, be kind of conscious a little bit about retying it. But like I said, once you start doing that glue, the glue does the trick. So it keeps that bait or that line out in front of the bait instead of coiling up where that front hook gets it. So with that being said, guys, that super glue is a real handy trick to a bait like this or the baits with the propellers on the front that we'll get into. Hey guys, I am seeing a few questions popping up. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint presentation, and after it, I'm going to open up and answer whatever questions are on the board here. So I'll get to it after we get through this presentation. All right, guys, like I said, slow and steady. This bait is very impressive. It pushes a lot of water. It's a heck of a wake bait style. I mean, it's got a pretty big profile to it. Like I said, it's about the diameter of a rover or a spook or a vixen. And then it has the plastic prop tail. It just, like I said, you could super slow roll this thing and that tail just kicks along. It's an awesome bait. So, and then when you want to get aggressive, you can throw it like a rip bait, and those fish, you'll get some aggressive blowups on this thing when you start ripping it and really causing a commotion with it. Those fish react to it. And like I said, guys, there's it's confidence, and also whenever you're throwing these topwater baits, the elements. You got wind. If you got, you got a chop on the water. You've got dead flat conditions. It could have a little cool down. There's a lot of variables. So whenever you're out on the water, always let the fish tell you what they want. Like throw that thing, slow roll it, throw it, burn it, rip it. Pay attention to where your bites are coming from. As not as far as coming from, you always want to pay attention to that as well. But what triggered the strike? Was it ripping it, or was it slow rolling it, or was it just burning it back to the bank where you can cover some water fast? It's one of those deals. Just let the fish go with telling you what they want. Being super slow, fast, burn, or ripped, and then put your pattern together from there. All right, guys. This one right here, big mistake. Don't let it fool you. This is a big bait. It's got a big profile. This thing is 6 3/8 inches long. This thing weighs an ounce. So it is a chunk. It is a big bait. And guys, this one has one of my favorites in it. I'm a fan of a knocker, a bigger ball bearing, bigger BB style knocker rattle in it. It's one of those things you can take this thing, and it's got the deeper tone, the knock to it, instead of just like the baby rattle. This one's got the more of the big knock to it. So that's one of my favorites, especially like for this bait. I'll get into the trees. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but on this one here, I like ripping it. So that knocker really plays into the retrieve that I'm looking for. All right, guys, we'll get into the next. Retrieves my setup. Same thing here, guys. Phoenix M1 7/8 heavy. To be honest with you guys, I throw this rod on a lot of different baits. This is my workhorse. It's just got a great backbone and a fast tip that loads up. Just a great all-around rod. Also, 7-to-5-to-1 ratio reel. This one here, guys, I definitely step up my braid a little bit. I don't throw this thing on anything under 65-pound braid. Like I said, this is a 1-ounce bait. You will be able to cast this thing. I mean, you could, with one of these Lose Tournament MB reels, you could darn near throw your line off the reel. I mean, you let this thing sail. So, with that being said, guys, 65-pound braid, big bait, just work. It's a big fish catcher. It's a workhorse. Also, guys, super glue is a humongous key on this thing, guys. because it's got that front prop. You want to keep that line out in front of the bait, because that bait right there, if you give it a couple pretty good chugs, a couple pretty good rips, you can hit it, and then with both of those props, guys, that bait will move at like an extra 6 inches. Like you chug it, and it'll just, and those props will propel that bait forward. So I always, when I'm throwing this bait, I'll throw it out there, let it land, let the ripples dissipate a little bit, and when I chug this in or give it aggressive rips, I'll keep up with the reel. I don't allow my line to slack. I'll always keep tension on the bait. And it's like rip, a little bit of a pull, rip, pull, rip, pull. And when I'm talking about pull, guys, I'm not like pulling this thing along or anything of the sort. I'm just ripping it and pretty much keeping that line taut and pulling maybe 5 inches, 6 inches, just letting the bait simmer down a little bit and almost come to a stop, and then I'll pull again. And a lot of times, guys, is when that bait almost comes to a stop and then you hit it again, that blow up occurs. And it's pretty much perfect time. That blow up occurs, and you can just lay back with them, bring that fish to the boat. So this bait here, guys, these props on these baits are plastic. They're lightweight. I touched on it a minute ago. Being so lightweight, it doesn't take anything to turn them. So this bait is another one that you can extremely slow roll, and it's got that big profile. I mean, this thing has got a big profile, and it pushes water along with those props, and those props just kicking, and that bait's just pushing water. It's an awesome source, an awesome tension getter. So, like I said, draw some big blowups. Right now, guys, I'm not sure. I've got quite a few people on here, and people from all over. Where we're at right now, I'm out here in California in the Central Valley. We're coming off. It's spawn / post spawn out here right now. There are still fish in the Delta on beds. A lot of the lakes mostly have popped already. The fish have spawned, and they're into the post spawn. But man, I'll tell you guys right now, if you guys got a place that's populated with perch, and like say for instance the California Delta here, guys, perch, the perch spawn right after the bass, and it's one of those things. I'm already seeing it out on the California Delta. You've got areas where the bass spawning areas has already happened. There's already perch pushed up and making their beds in there, and I've already watched it where you got these perch up there on beds, and there's schools of 3 to 6 pounders kind of cruising the area. And what they're doing is they're not there to help those perch in any way. They're there whenever they get hungry. They're going to snag one of those perch off a bed. So with that being said, guys, I like throwing this thing in that perch pattern this time of the year in the post spawn, because like I said, those fish key on those perch that are up and they're spawning. So you get that bait up there throwing around those flats, and one of those things that bigger fish definitely going to take it down. And also you get that thing around one that's garden fry, and it's definitely going to put a hurting on it. And like I said, guys, we're out here. It's in the spawn and the post spawn. Most of these fish are already spawned out, and it's in the post spawn. We got water temps right now range anywhere from like 63 to shoot out on the Delta. I'm seeing up to 74 already. But that being said, guys, anytime I get in the 60s, I'll start throwing topwater baits. So it's one of those deals for some of the guys back east where it's colder. Like I said, the magic number, I start throwing these things when it hits 60 plus. I'll start throwing these bigger baits or these topwater baits, looking for some of the post spawn fish. All right, we'll go on to the next. This is the lane changer, guys. This bait right here, it's got more of like a rip bait profile to it. This bait right here is a smallmouth and spotted bass catching machine. This thing, it's 6 inches long, weighs 7/16 of an ounce, so it's a little bit lighter. It's got that real slender profile like a rip bait, and it's got the light rattles to it. This bait right here, guys, shines, especially on the calm days where there's not much ripple on the water. And it's one of those deals. You get the calm days out there with less water disturbance. This is a more subtle bait. The props on this bait are not very big in diameter. So these bait, this on this specific bait here, with these props being a smaller diameter, these things take nothing, no pressure whatsoever to turn. I mean, as soon as you just start to move your reel, these things instantly are spinning. So this is an awesome bait, guys. Calm water, real subtle, and just a dead slow retrieve. These the smallmouth around here and spotted bass can't stand this thing. They love smashing on this. This is a chartreuse shad style, and this right here is a key to get to some clear water, clear calm water. This bait's gonna shine. And this bait, like I said, guys, it has that real light. I mean, it's a light rattle. It's almost one of those that you have to hold the bait, hold the hooks, and shake it to actually think, okay, well, that it actually has rattles. It's a real light, subtle rattle to it. Everything about this bait is just pretty much finesse style. Like I said, if I need to target my smallmouth or spotted bass, the lane changer is what I'm going for. This bait right here is key. This bait here, guys, I actually downsized my setup. I throw it on the Phoenix M1 7.2 heavy. Don't let the heavy fool you on this one. This M1 7.2 rod, it's got a decent backbone and a real fast tip. This is like a perfect rod for these lighter baits. You know, this is 7/16 of an ounce. It's just a hair under half ounce. It's pretty much like a spinnerbait rod where it's got a good parabolic bend with a quick tip to it. And with that, you can cast this thing out there pretty good. I throw this one on 40-pound braid. Again, guys, this one has the front prop, as you can see. So super glue is your friend. It's one of those deals. Super glue it and go for it. And like I said, guys, small props, light. This thing comes through the water with ease. And like I said, I prefer this bait in calm water. And it's one of those deals. These fish get a little active. You start seeing, wolf packs come up, and you start catching them on it, slow rolling it, or actually burning it. Like I said, you're going to want to let the fish tell you what they're after. Play with it a little bit, and then put your pattern together from there. But this is one of those baits, guys, that it has drawing power. Even if these fish are suspended in a creek channel or something and they're 30 feet deep, they'll come up and get this bait, especially the spotted bass. The spotted bass and this bait don't get along. So it's one of those deals. This is definitely a bait to have in your arsenal whenever you're going after the spotted bass and smallmouth. And the other two baits we were talking about, those two baits, especially the top notch, those baits are bigger profile, bigger prop, more aggressive. You could throw those baits. I usually break those baits out whenever I get more of a chop on the water. Little breeze, little chop on the water, I'll bring out the heavier artillery. But whenever it's got those bluebird days, real calm, clear water, I'm bringing out the lane changer and going to get a little, pretty much finessey with them. This bait, guys, I will throw on mono. This is a lighter style bait. This one, if I'm at a real clear water lake, I will throw it on 15-pound big game, even 12-pound mono. It's one of those deals. I've got guys that's, the weekend warriors. All the guys, we're all anglers out here, but there's different levels. If you're not a fan of bait casters, you could throw this thing on a spinning rod with, 10 to 12. I'd try to say 12-pound mono, just because you get one of those 4, 5, 6-pound spotted bass on this thing, it'll be a battle. So definitely keep your line up a little bit, but you can throw this thing on a spinning rod. I wouldn't throw the other two on a spinning rod unless you got a stout setup. But this bait, you can throw it on a spinning rod, 12, 15-pound mono. Other than that, I always prefer the bait caster, 40-pound braid, super glue, go for it. That way there's no doubt in my mind if that 4-pound smallmouth comes up and takes this thing down, I can be able to put a good battle on it without any question in my head. Hey, we're gonna put this fish in the boat. So, all right, guys, move on to the next. We went over the baits. Those are the 3 baits that are, they're one of those deals, guys, that they're not being, hasn't been much advertising on it. They've been quiet. A lot of anglers are throwing these things, not talking about it. So I know I will get emails from people, hey, why are you talking about that already? But it's one of those things I just want to share with you guys what we're throwing out there and what we're catching fish on. I mean, you can take these baits, especially like that smaller lane changer, and go catch 30 to 40 spots, and spotted bass a day. You get in the right pattern, the right area, and you can just put a beat down on some of those fish, especially the smallmouth. If you guys are near Mead or Lake Havasu, oh man, that's a good time. And like I said, it's one of those baits. It's kind of been held a little bit on the quiet side. They haven't been out long. And it was kind of the same way with the River to Sea Whopper Plopper. That thing is an animal. Guys have been throwing that for a few years. And then it got pretty last year, so the last year and a half, it hit the limelight. And it was kind of, oh man, a lot of guys didn't want that to get out. But that bait is a proven workhorse. Especially guys, my favorite one's the Whopper Plopper 110. It's the medium size. That thing will catch 8-pound largemouth or a 2-pound spotted bass if needed. That bait is a workhorse also. So this is kind of the same frame, guys. These prop baits, they've been around for a long time, in general, prop baits, But these new River to Sea line, the Chris Lane series, these are all 3 proven fish catchers that have in the box for, it's like tools, guys. You got your tools in the toolbox. So they all fall into the perfect category. So that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about the high percentage areas where I'm throwing these things right now. I got a couple pictures here of some local areas that I like to fish. These are some of the post-spawn transition areas that I've been targeting. Like I touched on, guys, water temp 60-degree plus, and I'm breaking out top water. It's one of those deals. It's just they'll get up post spawn, garden fry. Ones that are already spawned, they're wanting to feed up and get some of that, get some of that energy back. So it's one of those deals. 60 plus degrees is the magic number. There'll be a top water bait tied on the boat or tied on the deck. And if it's windy, top notch. If it's calm, we're going with the lane changer. So on this, guys, I'm still targeting the areas that I had the spawn fish because they're not going to move far, guys. They're just going to come off those flats and look for near a secondary point or deeper water transition. So what we got here, the picture on the left, the one with the full waypoints on it. Guys, when I'm coming into an area, I'm going to start at the mouth and work my way in. I'll hit that first waypoint out there on the right-hand side. That's a nice little point sitting out there. Just in case some of the, these fish have been spawning for the last month and a half, there might be some fish that's moved back out towards your channel, keying on bait on the main lake, already out on the mouth of the cove there. So I always start right there at the mouth, and then I'll make 10 or 15 casts in that area. If I don't get anything, I'm pulling the trolling motor, working my way back in. I'm going to hit that secondary point on the left-hand side, midway back. That point right there is one that will be a approved fish catcher usually. There's that one there's definitely a high percentage area, as I call it. You got a nice tapering point coming out there, and then right at the edge of that point where I have my fishing range colored in there, right on the edge of that, see how it gets the darker, the lines are stacked on top of each other? That is a transition area. There's a break there. That comes out and has a steeper drop. So those fish, they'll probably get up and spawn right there on that point. And then when they're done, they're just going to turn around and go right there to that nearest deep water and relax and wait. That'll be a nice little secondary point where they're going to ambush bait and just pretty much pull off right there. They got deep water nearby and suspend. And that top water bait comes over the top of them. They're going to come up looking for an easy meal. So that's a great area right there, guys. Tapering point with deep water near. It's definitely a high percentage. And then same goes for the back, the very back point back there. That is a tapering, just a big tapering point that comes off there, guys. It's one of those deals. Sometimes for that one, what I'll do is I'll put my boat in shallow water and fire it out off that point and work it back to the boat. And what that does, guys, is I'm fishing that topwater bait uphill. And now, with that being said, a lot of these fish, guys, they'll be more committed chasing that bait towards shallow water because they know it doesn't have the abyss it's got to chase the bait out into. They're feeling it. It's coming into shallower water. They're going to try to pin it to the bank type of style. You know, they'll be more comfortable looking forward to pinning it towards the bank. So they'll track that bait a little harder and come up and feel like that bait has nowhere to go. So they'll come on that bait pretty hard. So it's one of those deals, guys. I like changing it up. I'll put the boat up in the shallow water and throw that thing off the point and work that bait uphill. And it definitely will key a couple more bites in. Because also it's a whole different look, guys. You know, majority of the guys will fly up, keep the boat out in 30 feet of water, fire a cast towards the bank, and work the topwater bait out. But give them something different to look at. You'll be surprised. It'll give you a few more key bites a day. It's definitely a good thing to practice. And also, guys, something like this picture here on the left, that back point, that back tapering point, this area loads up big time with spawning bass. They get up on this point and spawn. And these fish don't leave this cove. This cove right here is awesome. It's got a cut to the right and a cut to the left. You can see it, how it kind of looks like an M. The two cuts going up. Those fish, they'll get right there in that little trough. And I've caught some magnum fish in this area throwing these topwater baits. And what they do is they'll pull right there in that trough and the bait fish will come in. And what they'll do is they'll push those fish, that bait fish, all the way into the back where it's like a corral. So they corral those fish in the back of those cuts. And man, we've had some magnum days in this area where we got in there. The first time I found this area, I was back in there and I was coming up, idling into the point. I hit the very front point and I was idling over to the secondary point. And it caught my attention in the cut with the deeper water on the right-hand side, right between those two waypoints. I seen some splashing going on. And I was like, oh man, is it the shad spawn? Because that's another key thing to look at, guys, is it's different. It's right next to the bank, and it looks like a bunch of bubbles and stuff popping, but it's actually the shad are spawning. And it's something you definitely have to key in on. If you get out there and you get in the middle of a shad spawn, you're going to catch bass like there's no tomorrow. Those fish usually key on that big time. And if you find a shad spawn going on, it's not going to take long before the bass figure it out too, and we'll be right there with you. But what happened was I thought it was a shad spawn, so I totally turned right real quick, flew back into the back of there, jumped up on the deck, dropped the trolling motor, made a cast real shallow, and boom, the bait hit the water. I didn't even get to move it, and this fish smacks it. And I mean, smacks this thing right to the water. So bait hits the water, the fish smacks it, I pull it off into the water, and boom, fish on. I mean, it's not even 6 inches off the bank. This fish come up, his back was out of the water, it was so shallow, and I set the hook on him, and I could bring him out, and it's a 5-pound spot. I'm like, holy moly, it's a good one. We get it in the boat, toss it in the live well, fire the bait back out there, hits the water, one rip, boom, another one, 4-pound spot. Well, we ended up winning that tournament. We had 23 pounds. And guys, those fish, they just stayed right in that little spawning area. And what they're doing was those post spawners were just working that bait fish up. And then once they hammered them, they let them relax. And about 40 minutes, it would just corral another wave of big fish in there. It was awesome. We caught fish in there for hours that day. So it's one of those things, guys. This picture on the left here has a bunch of key ingredients. Like I said, you got a main point, you got secondary points, you got that point in the very back that's just a long tapering point with 2 deeper water cuts on each side. And then even if you look on the right-hand side, there's a little black cross with a red circle around it. That on the Navionics mobile app stands for rocks. There's a nice little rock pile right there. So that rock pile was in like 18 feet of water in this picture. You can throw up over that thing, and even it could be in 18 feet, 25 feet, wherever that's at, that one, you can always throw top water over and catch those fish. Like I said, guys, clear, calm water, that lane changer, it'll draw those fish out. So we'll talk about the picture on the right-hand side here. That's another area that is a well-known spawning area. It's a nice tapering bank. It's got a nice point with a little island that pops up there, a little shallower water island top. That one you can get out there and throw top water on that island, and they smash that thing. And also, guys, like I said, it's a key area because there again, notice the contour lines are stacked together where it's pretty dark right there. You got a deep water transition. Those fish would get out there, spawn on that island top, spawn on that point, and then they got the deep water right there. So pretty much they're like a resident fish. They live there. They're not going to really migrate too much on that. They'll stay in that area. So you get those big spawners in there. You can see them, come out there and you're looking for beds a couple weeks early, and you got a fish that's not really locked on, but you're watching her. She's a giant. She ain't going to move very far, guys. You can come back in there after she lays eggs. If you don't catch her in the spawn series, the spawn time, you can come back in there. She's not going to leave that area and throw some of these topwater baits. And it's one of those deals, guys. That topwater bait really triggers a good bite usually in post spawn. So you have another shot at her. She's just going to pull right off of that point, right into the deeper water. And like I said, these topwater baits will pull them out of the deeper water. All right, guys. Like I said, these are just some of the tips. The super glue, this water temp 60 plus, the shad spawn. If you can find that, it's just magical. Things happen during the shad spawn. These fish get up and smash and eat, just devour those shads up there spawning. So if you can get that timing right, have one of these topwater prop baits tied on, it's definitely a key. So also, guys, with these baits, they come with great hooks, and even the split rings on them are strong. I wouldn't worry about changing out the split rings. I know some guys just are meticulous and just their confidence in a specific hook. I understand that. Change the hooks out. But overall, these baits are good, guys. They're one of those things that they got a good paint on them. They last long. Some of the specific colors I throw. I got some here. It was on here, the bone in the top notch. This is the chartreuse shad style, better known as You Know It. This one here, guys, like I said, is just a spotted bass and smallmouth assassin. This one here, guys, another one that I like to throw around. This is the lane changer in the bluegill. Great bait. Like I said, these fish keen on bluegill when they move up on their beds to spawn. Throw it around some of those spawning areas where you find bluegill bedding. Might get really surprised on the size of the bass you catch on that. Like I said, guys, between the baits, you got the big mistake and the lane changer. There's a huge difference in them. So for the guys that are on the Delta, this big mistake and a perch pattern is definitely a key bait. Throw around some of that hyacinth mats, stuff like that, and hang on. This bait is definitely a big fish style bait. All right, guys, that's pretty much wrapping up the webinar for this evening. I greatly appreciate everybody coming out. I want to talk to you guys real fast. Navionics has brought out a very, very cool new feature called the sonar chart shading. Guys, this is runs off of the sonar chart information. So it's uses the high definition 1 foot depth contours to actually do the shading. So a lot of guys will look at something like this and think it's like a Google Earth look. It's resembles it, guys, but this using the sonar chart information, the shading is very defined because it's defined by 1 foot increments. So you'll definitely be able to tell on breaks that are 2 or 3 feet, you'll see the depth color change. So the sonar chart the sonar chart shading is definitely going to be something that will really help you decipher an area real fast and help you eliminate water. You know, if you're looking for breaks, you're looking for creek channel swings, submerged island tops, stuff like that, it's really going to highlight that where you can take a glance at it, guys, and be like, okay, that right there, that area's got some nice tapering points. So that's got some deeper water, you know. If the light blue is shallow, the dark blue is the deeper stuff. So the lighter the color, the shallower, the darker, the deeper. So you can really quickly tell if there's a point that's a long tapering point you want to key on. Okay, that thing you can tell is a tapering point. It goes from a light shade out to a darker shade, and it doesn't get dark till a little ways out. Okay, that one's got a taper to it. That thing has, you know, 1 or 2 lines and it's light and then just falls to a dark, you know, there's a ledge there. So it's an awesome feature, guys. It actually just got released yesterday. To get this key feature, you have to be using a Navionics Hot Maps Platinum for the guys that fish freshwater and inland lakes. And if you're a coastal guy, you can use the Navionics Platinum Plus card. It's got to be a Platinum Series card to use this feature because it gives the 3D overlays of the lakes. And now, like I said, it has the awesome sonar chart feature, the sonar chart shading feature. So guys, if you already own the Navionics Hot Maps Platinum or Platinum Series, all you have to do is go on to navionics.com, update your card, and now it'll have this new feature on it. It is now available. So once you update your card, it will work. So with that being said, for the guys that don't have the Navionics Hot Maps Platinum card or Platinum card, for the month of May only, it's May 1st to May 31st, they're doing a savings promotion on it. It's $30 off for the month of May. So it's a great time to key in on that, get you a new card, get these new sonar chart shading information, and be ahead of the game. This is something, like I said, guys, just became available yesterday. So use it to your advantage before it gets out there. It's definitely going to be a game changer. All right, guys. Tonight we have River to Sea was one of the big sponsors of this webinar tonight. They have supplied a tackle pack for a lucky contestant. Now, for the guys that have watched this all the way through and attended, here it is. Shoot me an email at thuckaby@navionics.com and put on there, you know, on the subject line, prize pack. And now we're going to do a drawing, and one lucky winner will win the River to Sea prize pack of all the prop baits we talked about tonight. And like I said, guys, it's pretty good value. River to Sea really stepped up. Got to say thank you to River to Sea. They're always a key in the bass fishing world. They support the anglers, so we got to support them. So when you're out and about, Tackle Warehouse, everyone loves Tackle Warehouse. A lot of talk about Tackle Warehouse. It's quick and convenient. If you're local in the Central Valley, California area, Fisherman's Warehouse. You can also go to www.fishermanswarehouse.com and order baits, or pick your baits up at CNC Marine. They have a location in Modesto and up in, I believe, Citrus Heights in the Sacramento area. If you're local to the areas, you can pick up the River to Sea baits there as well. So, guys, I always say support those who support you. The River to Sea really helps, really does a lot for the fishing community, and they're a great bait, great group of people. So, when you can, pick up a River to Sea bait. All right, everybody. Once again, T Huckaby at Navionics.com. Shoot me an email. Get entered to get in the pick for the prize pack, and I'll be shooting a one lucky contestant an email this evening, and getting your address and sending you out an awesome prize pack from River to Sea. Thank you all for attending. I'm going to go through, take a look at some questions here for those that raised their hand, wanted to have a question or two answered. Jim Markham, do you think it's necessary to darken the line with a marker up a couple feet? I have seen some anglers do that with topwater. Jim, I really don't do that on my topwater, partner. I know a few people do that. A lot of guys will, a lot of guys have kind of ran off with that. And it's one of those deals that I think it's because a lot of them seen a lot of guys like myself. I will darken my braid when I'm punching, because that when I'm punching, the kind of it's more in their face type of thing, unless they're eating it when it goes through a mat. If it goes through the mat, like I said, it's one of those things that you let the fish kind of tell you what's going on. If I'm out on the delta and I'm punching and I pitch it up there, I shake it, it falls through the mat, and I get hit immediately, I'm not worried about it, because they're actually reacting to that bait falling through the grass, through the mat or through the moss, whatever you're punching. Now, per se, I've been out there before when you're punching and you punch and it goes to the bottom. You lift it, you drop it, shake it, you lift it, you go to drop it, and all of a sudden the line's slack or you get the tip. Now, on something like that, I don't believe, or I don't color my line. I don't color my line on top water, but I will color my line when I'm punching, because that's more in their face type. This top water stuff, I throw top water aggressively. I cover a lot of water. I rip it a lot. So it's one of those deals that I'm looking for more of a reaction, an aggressive strike. So I'm not too worried with the black marker on the braid. Kevin here put, or use a mono leader. Yes, you could also use a mono leader if you're a fan of leaders. By all means, it helps with the sensitivity. But I know a lot of guys, are fans of the leader. If you're a fan, more power to you. And then I know a lot of guys that are still in one of those deals where they're in between if they like the leader or not, because they've been playing with different knots and broke knots. It's one of those things, guys. If you're a fan of the leader, hey, more power to you. The mono leader, definitely. Just whatever you do, stay away from fluorocarbon, because fluorocarbon sinks. Would you change out the hooks on these baits? Like I said, Jim, they come with a stout hook on them now. It's one of those deals. They made a change. These new baits have a good hook. River to Sea had some treble hooks there about a year ago, 2 years ago, where they were along the light side, and we did have a few. I've had some on the River to Sea S Waver, and some of the original first ploppers that came out, they would straighten on some better sized fish. But these, they've got a pretty good diameter on them, and pretty stout. So I really wouldn't. I wouldn't change them out necessarily. What is the maximum water depth you would throw these over? Man, Jim, it's one of those deals. The maximum water depth, it all depends on the fish. I smashed them last year at Lake McClure. I was in a creek channel. I was back in, I believe it was the cut next to Piney Creek in Lake McClure. Has all the houseboats. There was a cut leading in the back there. It was like 140 feet of water, and it was crazy. We got out there, and I was watching. It got my attention because we were idling through the 5 out of the mouth of the houseboats, and I started seeing bait fish and bass going crazy back in there. And so I idled in, looked at it. You know, they had some bait fish boils going, and man, those fish were loaded out in that creek channel, and they were over 100, 140 feet of water, but they were suspended. They're out there suspended in 15 to 20, 25 feet, and it was something else. We were throwing top water out there in the middle of those houseboats, and like I said, over 100 feet of water, and we were smashing them. We ended up actually winning that tournament, and it was all those fish were caught out there over deep water. Those fish were just suspended. So keep an eye on your grass. You know, you definitely use your graphs this time of the year to scan those creek channels when you're idling in, kind of see if you see those suspended fish and how deep they are. I usually, if I'm seeing fish 30 feet or shallower suspended, I'll throw a top water at them. I will throw a top water at them. It's amazing, especially if you have some clear water. Get out there, and especially these prop baits, start chugging on those prop baits, ripping them pretty good, making a commotion, and it'll draw those fish up. All right. Randall, what bait would you choose for cloudy or rainy weather? My go-to bait on one of those days that sets up cloudy, rainy, little breeze, you know, kind of all the elements of catching a good one, I would definitely go with the top notch. The top notch bait, it's more my style. I love going like the River to Sea Rover or the Vixens. I love a bigger top water style bait. And with those conditions, I'm definitely going to try to target a better fish. So I'm going to step up to a bigger profile. And I would throw the top notch most definitely in those conditions, because that's going to be the one that gets you the bite that counts. You may not catch a ton of fish on it, but the fish that are going to come after it are going to be a better fish. All right, guys. Well, we're getting everything wrapped up here. I see this is way. Email once again will be thuckaby@navionics.com. So, all right, everybody. That'll conclude it for tonight. I appreciate you guys that stuck it out. It's 7 o'clock. I don't want to take up too much more of your evening. So I greatly appreciate all your guys' support and hanging out this evening with me. Best of luck to you all in the water. Talk to you all soon. You're very welcome, Randall. Thanks for coming out.